Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Card Talk with Tim and Harry. It has been a month probably already, or at least close to that, maybe a
Has it
little
been
bit
a
over
month?
that.
Oh, it's gone quick though.
I know. And now it's good. I've needed some time to hang out with Harry and check in and see what's going on. And we've got lots of new Warpforge stuff to talk about. I've got us with this setup right now. So people who haven't been able to tune in yet, that we've got the chaos raid that we'll be talking about. But before I get into all that good stuff, what is going on, Harry? How are you? Let the people know what's up these days for you.
Yeah. Well, thanks for bringing me back, Tim. And yeah, man. I've not. I've still been playing Warpforge. People on the ladder would have seen me. They like definitely because I've maintained gameplay, maintained it on my phone, playing here, playing there. But I've been streaming a lot of League of Legends. Trying to climb in that game. That's kind of grabbed me the past month, but yeah, like when there's something new come out on Warpforge, I always come back and I always play, and I'm like, what? I need to yeah. So I've been playing a bit,
Yeah.
like,
Speaking of, and I almost totally blanked on this. What did you think of the community survey?
oh, so yeah. When you told me about it, 'cause wouldn't have known about it. I got on there and I started writing it. Yeah, I started writing it, and I got about halfway through, and it felt like a job application. Like it felt like I don't know, like I got a bit thingy with it. I was like, oh, like I started getting stressed out with all like do you know it's easy to talk, but it's not easy to write.
True.
So I didn't complete it, no, but
Oh, it's all good. I'm glad that you took a look at it. We won't spend much time talking about it because oh boy, did I do a lot of that last week with Ecclesiarch and BJ and Barrick. So if you're really interested in data and stuff like
yeah,
that, feel free to check that out. But no, I hit up Harry because he's also been around the block when it comes to Warp Forge. Seeing a lot of the changes, a lot of the progression, and there was a lot of detail in there. I think that can be a little bit overwhelming. Um,
yeah.
and I
You
guess
had to scroll down, yeah.
yeah, you had to scroll down. There were like multiple options. There were sometimes things where you could like people wrote like paragraphs. So
For real.
I think there were a
Yeah.
couple of responses that were multiple paragraphs. It was like one for each faction, what they would
No.
change.
Yeah, see, no, but you get where I'm coming from. I got overwhelmed with it, yeah, a little
I
bit.
do.
Like,
Yeah.
I thought it was just like a to 10, click to 10, but then there was writing, and it was like, what do you think? And it's like, oh,
Yeah.
mate, like, what do I think? And then I was on it for ages, and then I thought, oh, wait a minute, am I really stressing out over this? Like,
And
do you know what I'm saying?
and then we also I think we closed it out after we got like 100 or so. So that was the other thing. Like I think maybe in the future we'll
Oh,
we'll keep it open for longer. Also maybe make it a little bit more yes or no. I think this was kind of like let's collect as much data as possible and send it to EG and see what comes back.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
really a big effort by Ecclesiarch in particular. I guess he's done stuff like this before, but yeah, for those of you who missed it, don't worry. I'm sure we're gonna have other opportunities to give more of like the whole community's feedback, not just content creators. Because we have a bias too, right? Like we're playing the game usually more than the average player. We're also like playing it differently. So I think it's good to get as many people's opinions as possible. But was there anything, Harry, that you remember kind of sticking out from that survey, or anything that you were surprised by or interested in?
Yeah, I think it's good because we're finding out what everyone wants and what everyone's got issues with, and not just the people talking about it on YouTube and Twitch and
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
and I think like everyone's gonna have a different issue, so like it's hard to get in everyone's head and what's their issue with the game. So
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I think the big takeaway is that Warpforge, at least from that sample size, is doing a pretty good job. You know that if we had to give a rating to really everything, benefits and drawbacks, that it felt like pretty much everyone was around a 6 or a 7. Right.
yeah, yeah,
It's not the best, right? But it's certainly not. Oh, I'm not going to play this game. And I think that's good to know. And it was pretty clear from a lot of the feedback after like really kind of aggregating it and like going through the general themes that EG's got a great product. It's just about refining it a little bit more. So
yeah. Yeah, I think they've done well. They've done well with the game. Like in the beginning, it was like it was a slow start. It was a
yes,
slow start, like getting the new content and that. Like now, I think content's coming out at a good pace. Like I wouldn't even like. I feel like Tau just come out last week and there's already new Chaos cards. Do you know what
to-
I'm saying?
totally, yeah, yeah. It is
So,
it is crazy that last time we were talking about Tau and now we're on to like a whole raid event that we'll talk about today. So
yeah, it's like so that's one thing I'll give them credit for. Um, they've obviously got more things planned. Like, do you know what I'm saying? They've probably got loads of cool things coming, whatever. But I think the raid thing's really cool. Different approach. I'm excited to see how it turns out for them.
yeah, me too. I think it's a concept that, from what I understand, they have like kind of the same thing in Horus Heresy Legions, which was kind of like the precursor to Warpforge and is still ongoing, but I think Warpforge has become more of like kind of the modern version of that. Yeah, I mean, I think this is a great opportunity for them to explore. So to check in on kind of where we last left off, right? And we were testing a bunch of Tau decks and trying different warlords and all of that, and I was super excited to get in and try all the different play styles. Um, yeah, I think Tau have changed a lot about the ranked play in this game and have become, they are a part of like the best strategies for, the strongest decks right now. So they're doing well. They came in hot and they've kind of, even with quite a few nerfs, like more than I was expecting, have been putting up really great numbers. And I do expect that we'll see some more nerfs at the beginning of next rank season. I'm not sure what, but you know, we'll see. I think they're in a really really strong position. I still don't know that they're like the best. I think that there are plenty of factions that have answers to them, but they do have the most like strongest card pool in the game. I would say hands down. So I don't know
Yeah.
if that's been your experience, Harry, when you've been playing with or against them lately. But
So I haven't played. I don't play Tau. I got a few cards and like I would make a deck. I'm not. I like to have a good deck on every faction. I'm not one who's like, yo, I'm with these and I'm with no one else. Like I'm fighting for this mob. Like I'll be any faction. I've got the elves. I've got a good deck for the elves. I've got a good deck for the Necrons. That, and I'll switch and change because I can't stay on one deck, even though it's probably best to stay on one, like and learn it. I just bad, but I'm still with Gordrang, man. I'm still with Gordrang. That's who I play in rank. Like I play Gordrang, like, and sometimes I win, sometimes I lose. I have trouble against Tau. Um, I do have a bit of trouble against Tau though, yeah, because like all the drones in it.
yeah, I actually think Gordrang is a really good choice right now, and I've been playing around with that a lot more. Um, and I do think that there are going to be some boards against Tau where it's really hard to deal with it. You've used your Will of Gorks, you've used your
Yeah.
Scorcher assaults, or like you're trying to take care of their board, but they keep throwing down 3, 4 drones a turn. I do think that is just generally why they're so strong, is how resilient they are. They can keep putting out threats. But what Gordrang, I think, brings a little bit more of is the ability to kind of out aggress um, things like Anva, where you can smack him for like 8 damage in the first 2 turns. And you start to build like a life lead so that if they're not pressuring you every single turn, you're going to get a bit of an advantage. Then you can Will of Gork the board, then hit them with your big, axe again. And
Yeah.
he
That's
actually,
fun.
it
That's
is
so
fun.
fun. Like the axe. Listen, the axe is like is the main part why I enjoy it so much.
Yeah, you get to smack them and they get stunned. It's like it's a good time.
That, no, I'm turning the light back on.
Harry's
Oh.
gone dark, everybody.
um, yeah, the tower coming for me.
Yeah, you gotta camouflage yourself over there.
Yeah. No, but I really like. I ain't even looked at what's meta. I'll be honest. Like I ain't even like
Yeah, yeah,
seen what's the best deck. I've been beat by a tail quite a bit. I'm just still. Unless I've got a challenge to do, and then I'll change it up. But I'll still play them orcs. Like, I like the orcs in it, so
yeah,
yeah, stick with them.
yeah. To throw back to the survey for a second, definitely the highest ratings out of all the factions were Orc and Tau, which was
Oh,
really
for real,
interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean orcs I really see, and then Tau they had the most 5-star rating and the most 1-star rating. So is this interesting? Like people either really dislike them or they love them. But with orcs, I think it was more like 4s and 5s. They're just like they're versatile. You can build them a bunch of different ways. They've now got 4 warlords that you can do pretty well with, right? Maybe you're
Yeah.
not the top of the ladder, but like you certainly can be in the top 50 with really any of those warlords. And I even saw like a Gruck build the other day that went super super late and had the guy that it's like the mob that make I think it's like it makes a slug of boy in your hand and then it discounts it, or like there was another
Yeah.
unit that discounts it, and this guy basically went infinite.
Mecha. It's a mech.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
He like went infinite, playing like a million different boys, and then giving them giving
Artist
them
now.
flank
Yeah.
with crump to gits, and just there's still a lot of innovation that I see quite a lot, especially in the legendary division. So to your point, Harry, I think like you don't have to necessarily be running the quote like the best deck, and I think there's a lot of different ways to take advantage of what people get used to as being the top deck or whatever.
Best. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm glad you're still
Orcs.
smacking people with the axe there,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah, mate. I'm there with them, but I think orcs did get shown a lot of love, and I feel like that survey's shown you like that the orcs have shown too much love. I mean, the other factions need love too.
Yeah,
Like Tau was always going to be strong. It's the new faction. The newest one's always, because they got to release it in a certain state. Like they can't,
yeah. I as much as it's as much as I would want things to be balanced as much as possible, right?
Yeah.
Going into an expansion, I would rather them be strong than weak. I don't think it feels good to like have a faction that on release is kind of like what the Tyrannid reinforcement drop was like, where you're
Oh,
like,
mate.
oh, there's like a card that
I
people
feel
care
bad
about.
for them. I feel bad for the Tyranids after that. Like, because and even so, like look at the path that paved for us. Yeah, when the Tyranids things dropped, and like they come out and like. We were wondering, were they good? Are they good? Are they not good? And then you're just gonna like they didn't really shake nothing, and you're just like, oh, is this what all the next ones are gonna be like? Are they
Yes.
just all gonna be like that? But it turns out that nah, like Orc's got a serious drop, like serious drop, and then obviously the tail dropped, and that was serious. And I ain't really seen much of the legendaries from the chaos, obviously, because you can't get one and might not be able to get one, and like not everyone obviously bought the pass to get the
Yeah.
hero, so I ain't seen much of them, but I feel like they got a solid few cards in the thing, like
Yeah. They did. I think we can definitely touch on some of the cards and kind of how we got here, right? Like to Harry's point, we started with a really low powered reinforcement drop. I think some of those cards have come along in a sense, like Terror of Vardengast, which is, you want your warlord that's coming into the game to be strong, has struggled continuously. And I still think there's some viable strategies. I was even trying it out a little bit today because I wanted to grind as many medals as I could. So I was like, let me try some, aggressive terror deck to play as many games as I can. I don't know that it's that great, but and then we went to orcs that had we had not really figured them out yet, right? And Harry was doing like a ton of testing those early days, and then I think most of the community has felt that like the orcs drop was kind of in the middle, right? Like there were some pretty good cards. There were a lot of the cards were playable, maybe not like game defining, but they were certainly really solid. And then we had the expansion, of course, and now I think we've arrived at chaos where not only are a lot of the cards pretty exciting, but there's a whole event for it, which we have up on the screen. And I think we were hoping for something like this to come, and it finally dropped. And it's interesting. I think my kind of impression is I'm a little bit on the fence. Like I think it's a really cool concept, and I think it is bringing a whole new approach to new cards being added to the game, brings a little bit more excitement. But even Harry and I, before we got on, we're talking a little bit about like the benefits and the drawbacks, right? Like you can't just go out and play a brand new deck because you've cracked like 20 packs and you've got all the new stuff, or you've got all the wild cards, right? You can't use your wild cards yet. So, how do we feel about that? How might the average player feel, or like the free to play player feel? I think for the most part, this is better for newer players and free to play players because you can make your progress and you can get discounted cards with these medals that you're getting for free just for playing the game. It takes a while, right? But like, would I rather take a while and still get some free stuff, or would I rather it be instant, but I have to invest or have to have enough materials for it? I think that's kind of the question, that we're figuring out. But I will tell you, Galaron's champion, which we got on the screen here. Harry, tell what was your first impression of this card?
Oh, I thought that was insane. I thought it was insane. Bro, there was so much going on with this card. I couldn't even work it. Like, I couldn't work out whether to like I don't even know. Like, it's a serious card. It's a serious bit of card, I reckon. 3-cross Galaron's champion. Yeah, everyone wants it. We all want it. We all want that card.
we sure do. That's why EG's sticking this thing right at the end of the raid. And as you can see, we're well, actually it's a little bit cut off, but basically we passed level 3. So you know what? Let me just scroll over 1 second.
Know what though, Tim? I was thinking as well. Yeah, a lot of what we were thinking was when the new cards released, we was a little bit like, like we don't want to pay £50 for a new expansion. It's a bit much, yeah.
Right.
And then like, in a way, Raiders sort of like come and like they've basically said, look, you don't have to pay £50 for an expansion. You can pay a score, and you've got to play. Which
Yes.
like they've seen what people are moaning about, and they've tried to address it. Because they can't just give you £20 all the cards for free, like it don't make sense. But like £20, and you've got to play every day for them 2 weeks if you want to get both of the cards. Like, because I assume if you bought the pass and you played for the 2 weeks every day and just done your challenges, I reckon you'd be able to buy both the legendaries,
Yeah.
and probably the card back.
Yeah. I mean, I think you bring up a good point, Harry. And I would also, as a player and as a content creator, I think that this is what we want to be doing. I think this is friendlier to new players. This is friendlier to free to play players, and it also just brings like a special thing to the game that it didn't have before. So I definitely don't want to kind of off the bat kind of come at it too negatively. I'm curious if we can obviously improve from here, which I'm sure we can. But yeah, to your point, like I think it is for the average player. I think this experience is what we're asking. Um,
Yeah, I
so
think
as we
they've
can
done well with it.
see, even in the first, what is it, 3 days, I guess, of or four, I guess
Significant.
day 4 of the raid, we're at level 3, and so we just have to get to level 7. Um, and it looks like that the steps are roughly the same. I don't know if it's going to scale up, but to your point, Harry, I think if you can buy the $20 metal pass, and that will allow you to get the majority of the new cards, or at least most of them at a pretty discounted rate with the metals, then not only can you get free stuff for not paying anything, but if you pay a much more discounted rate, which would be 20 instead of 50, you're getting the majority of the new cards, and then you crack some packs after that. You should have everything for a
Yeah.
much better rate. So
Plus, if you don't like cosmetics,
yes,
i.e., that avatar, that title, then the metals that you ain't gonna spend are gonna turn into pink. So
yes.
you're double dipping.
Exactly. Yeah, I totally forgot about that. Thank you for bringing that up. That yeah, your metals are going to turn into crystals at the end of it as well, right? Like any excess metals that you have. Honestly, like with the way it feels, I think we're going to be using all of our metals too. I think between this, let me actually just pop us over to the shop real quick, actually, because there's also a card shop here. Um, right. So I got the 1500 pack, because I really wanted to try the new Warlord, and we'll kind of wrap up with talking about him in a bit. But like it's cool. Like so right now I've got 108 medals. I could go in and buy some of the commons if I wanted to run those out. I'm probably just going to save up until I can get the cards that I'm really interested in. I would say the Despoilers. I'm really interested to see how good that is. So it's a
The
very new
spoiler.
thing. Yeah, for the rest of this
Oh,
battle, when an
yeah.
enemy troop is deployed, it gets vulnerable 1, which
Do you know what that reminds me of? The orc thing, where you give the armor. Like it's like something that you use, and it's helping you for the rest of the game.
exactly. And I think it's well timed, because I think a lot of people, from what I've been seeing on the Discord and stuff like that, have really, been pretty, shall we say, critical of Grizzled Scarboy as a card. And I'm to be as political as possible here.
Yeah.
Despoilers is an interesting answer, right? Like, so it's not going to affect what's on the board right now, but for the rest of the game, you are getting that vulnerability, and to me, that's like very very strong. I don't know if you want 2 of these cards in your deck. Maybe you do, especially if you're playing Abaddon and you're kind of trying to go late. But like that card really catches my eye. I'm actually really interested in Veteran Havoc as well, which is just like a decent body for a card that comes down and deals 4 damage to a troop. I think with Galeron and the way he plays, these cards make a lot of sense. They're much more kind of tempo focused. They're much more like vulnerable focused, where you could take out a troop with 5 or 6 health very easily with Galeron and something like Veteran Havoc. Or even his Disciple here, which when it dies, gives vulnerable to all enemy troops. You can kind of see how they're adding like almost a whole new archetype to Chaos, which I think is really cool.
Because they already had that other 5 drop that give vulnerable in it as well. The Plague Marine.
Yes, who's like excellent. Still
Yeah.
like such a great card. But yeah, it's they're adding way more vulnerable synergies, and for those who don't know what Galeron's ability does is pay 2 energy to give 1 unit, so that includes the Warlord, vulnerable 1 for the turn. And then if that unit were to die this turn, draw a card. So he doesn't need any card draw at all. Like even just in doing like I would say a handful of test games this morning, um, it's easy for you to just spend a turn. You pick something off with your Warlord, draw a card. You barely need to put like the 3 energy that draws 2 cards, and then if you draw a unit, get a Mark of Chaos. You don't really need that, because you're just basically playing to the board and then getting rewarded for clearing units, which is pretty nuts. So I've really enjoyed him so far. I'm actually also really interested in this Legionary, the Meltagun. Um, just for not necessarily for Galaron because it has the Dark Pact deal 3 damage to a random enemy. And I think with Galaron, you're not trying to do much with Marks of Chaos. That's kind of my feeling so far. But Legionary could be really good with a more
And he's got
aggressive
blast
warlord.
too as well.
Yes, yes. Like I kind of want to try Sylar with this guy. You know, I kind of want to try some of the more like Sylar tends to be more aggressive in the best builds that I've seen. So like I'm really interested to try like you know idolatrous despoilers. Geez, that's a mouthful. And Meltagun Legionary and Veteran Havoc and play this very like tempo style where you can still find room, you know, to give Marks of Chaos to some of these things if they stick around. Or sorry, I keep saying it's Dark Pact, not Marks of Chaos. That's what they used to be
Dark
called.
Pact.
But
Yeah.
you know what I mean, Harry. You've been around, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I guess
Um,
let's get some impressions from you of some of these new cards. Like, what do you think about all this like vulnerable stuff?
I think the vulnerable's quite cool. I didn't know that the hero's ability was to put it on the enemy hero. I didn't even know that.
Let me
I
pull
thought
them
it
up
was just a
first.
unit. I didn't know it was you could stick that on an enemy champion as well. So that's made that character a little bit more like I'm like, oh, you know what? Actually, yeah, that could be quite thingy. But I think people just need to test it, be running tests with him, like find out what.
The way I would think about this card is that it's better than Shuriken 1, right? So if we compare this to kind of like what Zephyr Blade does, right, where it's like a +1 to your ability to clear something. It's more than that, right? Because vulnerable is adds damage on that target as long as it's alive. So it allows you to clear much bigger targets with vulnerable 1. And the fact that when you clear that thing, you're also drawing a card, it really changes like kind of what you're trying to do with your chaos deck, right? So obviously any faction that is playing more of the board, and like we can talk about Tau here for a second, right? Um, is going to allow you like you can clear a drone with this, right? Most drones have 3 health. You're going to be able to kill that drone and draw a card on top of that. However, you still have to be careful, right? Because you're not developing your board if you're doing that. But I think because chaos has so many ways to affect the board, you've got Spawndom, you've got Helldrake Strike, right? You've got Traitorous Hate. There are all of these cards that kind of spread out damage, um, you know, and can kind of burn you down if you're not paying attention. I think that there are a couple games today I played where it ended on 7 or 8 energy because with the combination of like a unit that got to smack their face after giving their warlord vulnerable 1 for the turn.
No, maybe you go long with this guy because imagine you've got 4 units, then you give their warlord vulnerable and you hit with all 4. You're doing 1 extra
Mm-hmm.
damage on every unit.
Oh, totally. And I think like I haven't explored enough. I've definitely been playing this more of like the aggressive tempo style, which I tend to do. You know, the old Uriel tactics over here.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I'd be curious. Like, can you build this with Black Crusade? Right, go like super late, and then you're like, well, I'm gonna give you vulnerable 1, and then I'm gonna smack you for like 30. Um, I think Abaddon is still very strong, and I think is still going to be a very solid choice. Like he's just the most kind of consistent warlord in the game, right? It's like you can heal or you can buff your troop. Each way, you're happy, right? There are going to
Yeah.
be kind of like Gordrang is, right? It's like some turns you're not going to be happy to use that ability, right? And I think Galeron is kind of the same way. Like sometimes this card's going to be useful, sometimes it won't. But when it is useful, you're getting a ton of value out of it. So you really have to ask yourself, okay, would I rather kind of, you know, play to the board more and set up these pretty crazy vulnerable turns, right? Or would I rather just go late, use some of these new cards, right, in an Abaddon build and see how that goes? Like I think Abaddon coming out of the gate with this reinforcement's probably going to be your safest bet. But I think Galeron's going to be good. I think giving vulnerable 1 to someone's warlord is a pretty scary thing. Um, so we'll see. I don't know. I'm kind of excited. Um, I think some of the other cards, like the Meltagun guy, I'm pretty excited about because it just adds, another potential threat. Um, just to kind of jog on over to the build that I've been working on, and I would take this with a grain of salt, but a card that just has really become, I think, a lot scarier recently is Legacy of Vengeance. And that's the one that gives your warlord +1 melee for every unit on the board. And you can have these very crazy turns where if they don't have a Vanguard unit, right, you're just going to punch them for like a ton. And then you can clear the board with things like Traitorous Hate, like, Spawndom and Helldrake Strike. So it's been fun. One card I'd be interested to get your take on, Harry, and I'll pull this up for us, is one of the new rares that we actually didn't preview in the reveals. This was just like a new card that we all got to see when the raid dropped. But I'm curious what you think about this fitting into Chaos. I don't know how much Chaos you've played. I haven't played a ton myself, but
Well, I swapped the Terminator. Is that am I right? The 6 cost. I
Yep.
swapped the Terminator out and I put the Havoc champion in.
Yeah.
Because I think he's better.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I think, yes, it costs 1 energy more, but like, look, this thing just is so nasty, right? Like, if it's not dead,
It's strong, bro. It's strong, yeah.
It's got 7 health, like it's not terribly easy to take out, right? Like, yeah, I don't know. If this thing gets to swing at you, you're probably dead.
I think this will probably be brought down a little bit. I reckon that 8 will probably get turned to 7 or something. I reckon 8 is a bit.
I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah, because imagine all the you're putting all your things on it as well, your buffs.
Yeah. This feels like a unit that you would love to play 1 or 2 of in your Black Crusade deck, right? Because then you Black Crusade, you hit this thing, they have to clear it, in the late game to get to the rest of your units, and if they don't, they're 100% dead. This thing is an absolute house. I think that, people have said, oh, like, well, it's just another big Vanguard unit, but it's like, yeah, it's a big Vanguard unit that also should win you the game after you attack, right? Like, vulnerable 2 to all enemy troops means that your Traitorous Hate hits for 4 on their entire board for 2 energy. Like, if they have any board and this thing is on the battlefield and not dead, like, what do you do? Like, this thing's just gonna kill everything.
And you know what's quite good, because Hell Brute is a 7, isn't it? And Hell Brute's nuts, yeah. But then, like, you got a choice now. If you've got this and Hell Brute in your hand, if they've got a wide board, then you drop this. But then again, even if you drop this, he's gonna die if they've got a wide board. So it's like,
yeah,
it's hard to speak on this one.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point. Like, you do want to think about, like, all right, well, Hellbrute has kind of been the premier 7-drop for the Chaos decks. It's got 2 armor, so it's like impossible to kill.
Impossible to kill.
It's like, unless you've got Inspired Retribution, that thing's not dying, right? So the trade-off, right, is that it doesn't come with Vanguard strapped to it, right? Because obviously that would be insane. So they kind of give you this option, right? It's like, would you rather the unit that has armor and some upside progress into the game, or would you rather have a unit without armor but that has Vanguard, and if it does attack, kind of similar to how keeping a Hellbrute on the board, that's going to give you a bunch of advantage. So I feel like, maybe the answer for some of these Black Crusade Chaos decks, and mostly Abaddon, I think, plays best with that card. You just stick like maybe 2 Hellbrutes, 1 Havoc Champion, or 2 Havoc Champions, 1 Hellbrute, and you just try to slam them off of your Black Crusade. and just
Yeah.
make your opponent cry, I guess, on the other side of the board. Um, but it is a card that like I think people are kind of not giving as much of a chance to. But I'm telling you, playing with it has felt pretty great. I don't know if it belongs in more of this kind of aggressive style deck, but like if you go over to Abaddon, I'm playing Black Crusade anyway because I think you want to. And I haven't touched this list quite yet, but there's no reason not to play that sort of card. Um, and I think to go back to the raid, I'm super excited to play with these other cards. Like Spreading Corruption is a really interesting one that was added. This is one of the cards I got to reveal. Um, Giving vulnerable 4 to a troop, and then if it dies, it applies that effect to another random troop. Um, so the fact that you're getting this up for upfront value is pretty huge. And vulnerable 4 is going to remove most anything. The Curse of Pharaon. I think Harry, you remember, was that when it first came out, that Necron card, was it vulnerable 5 to all enemy troops? I think I think
I
it
think so.
I think
I
it
think it was.
was.
It got nerfed. It got nerfed. If it definitely got nerfed because I remember,
Yes, it did.
but I can't remember how much. Yeah, it might have been 5. Did it get nerfed to 3?
Yes, it did.
So it got nerfed to 4 and then 3. Yeah, because it was
It's just a little too good.
It's a bro. It was so strong, bro. Because that Curse of Pharaoh and the AOE was insane together.
Yeah, the scythe assault. Yeah, it
Yeah,
just it was going to clear every board, and Spreading Corruption may not clear the entire board. When I originally read this card, I thought it would just keep going and keep going. But I think now that I'm looking at it, it says if this dies this turn, apply this effect to another random troop. I don't know that it copies like for the whole board. We actually have to see how this card plays. Because someone was asking me after I did the video, and I was like, I think it applies to the whole board, but now I'm not so sure because it just depends on if it actually copies the Spreading Corruption card. Or does it just do one troop and then it spreads to another troop, but then that's it? I don't know. I actually don't know. So
oh, so yeah, but spread. Yeah, see, we'll have to test that. But
yeah,
you're getting so you put the 4 vulnerable on someone, you hit them, you kill them,
yep.
then it spreads. So
So
even if you aim to kill that person there, next turn they've still got the 4 vulnerable, but it just won't spread.
yes, and my assumption is when you play this card with Spawndom, that you're killing at least 2 units that turn, right?
Yeah,
Because your Spawndom's
yeah.
going to attack that, they'll hit for 6, right, with the vulnerable 4. So like I'm really excited to play with this card. I'm really interested to see like how powerful this kind of removal spell ends up being, and then I think we definitely have to talk about Galen's Champion a little bit more. This is just, oh man, of course it's at the end of the track. We all got to fight to finish the raid to make sure that we we get this card. So for those who hadn't seen, so it's going to create a Zealot Legendary in your hand at the end of turn, right? So like, no matter if this card dies the following turn, you're still getting a free 4-drop that is like pretty.
Ethereal, no.
No.
Oh, so you can
it's
hold
just
that
in
for forever. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
When you need to use it.
Yeah, so you just get it. So it's literally a 2-for-1. You play a unit, and you're also getting the Zealot Legionary in your hand. And I would say pretty importantly, Rally 1, right? Again, leaning into this vulnerable synergy, right? If you're playing Galaron or you're just playing other vulnerable cards, this Rally deal 1 damage actually is usually going to be 2 or 3. And you're also getting four health, 4 energy, decent stats, right? And the most important thing is you don't have to play this card physically in your deck. You just get it, right? And then of course the last being Bitter Blows, which is just like great. If you get to cast this, you just got a free removal spell off your 3-drop. So, yeah. Just
they
a
could have a
powerhouse.
big unit. They could have one big unit on the board, and all of a sudden you've got you've got the answer, like
Bye.
yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the most in Magic the Gathering, the most powerful sacrifice effects say, you know, just like sacrifice a card with the greatest power, right? So this is obviously not that. It's destroy the enemy troop at the lowest health, right? Meaning usually the weakest. But like Harry said, if you play this and you protect it behind Vanguard units, right, and they can't deal with it, if they just have one or two big units, one of those is dying, right? For 3 energy, you're getting rid of one of their best units on the board in that scenario. So the card is just absolutely incredible, and I cannot wait to play with this thing. I have 2 wild legendary cards just sitting there. One of them's got this guy's name on it. I'll tell you that. So,
Yeah.
um,
I like the artwork as well. I think the artwork's cool.
oh, the plasma
Yeah.
pistol and the axe. It's
Yeah.
so sick. This makes me want to play Chaos. This card, you know.
Yeah, because like, you're gonna play him and you're gonna get to play him. You know, like, for instance, when the
Yes.
orcs come out, yeah, I played the new hero, and then there was the 6 drop. You know, the one that makes your, I'm sure it was 6. It made your things go off twice. Do you remember? What's his name? Big Chopper.
But
Big Chopper
yes,
mob.
mob. You get mob twice.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the thing is with him, yeah, like, I got him, I put him in a deck. I tested loads, and I rarely got to use him because he's a 6 drop. So, like, yeah, sometimes he might make sense, but with this is 3 drop. Like,
Yes.
this is getting every game. If you're drawing this, you're being able to play it no matter what because it's cost 3.
Yep.
That's what I like about it.
Yeah, I really like lower cost legendaries for that exact reason. Is that you're going to be able to play them more of the time, and I feel like this card is kind of easily compared to the 3 drop legendary for Tau, which gives like a drone stealth and also has an ephemeral ability. It has a talent as well on the other side of it. So I really like this direction that they're going with some of these legendary cards of like they're not going for
Yeah.
these like flashy kind of end game sort of things. I'm sure we'll see some of those, but um, with having that Tau 3 energy, I'm blanking on the name right now, but Dark Strider, and then kind of the Galaron champion. I feel like they're kind of going more towards like we want players to play these earlier, but also get rewarded for doing that. And I think that's great. I really like this card. I mean, it's super exciting. I think it's going to be very very powerful. Chaos has a ton of really good 3 drop options, but you're 100% going to play this because it's just
Yeah. Every deck's having this, mate.
like great.
Every
I'll
deck.
take one of my stupid like 5 or 6 drops out that I don't care about, right? Like
Yeah.
this thing is like a 3 and 4 drop in one card because you're getting that 4 drop up front, and then if you want a removal spell on the other end of it, great. You know, it's
The
just packed
question
with value.
is your hand gonna clog with this guy?
It is. I mean, I do think that that's actually a real concern. Like you do need to manage your hand size with a card like this, right? Because it's essentially replacing itself in your hand, and then the following turn you're drawing an extra card, and then if it
Oh,
lives for an additional turn, it's going to give you an additional Zealot. So, um, yeah,
so you're gonna get your hero ability, plus you're gonna get another. You're gonna draw a card. You're gonna get your hero ability, plus you're gonna get another unit from this card, plus you're gonna get its ethereal. Yeah, bro,
yes,
it's a lot in your hand, especially at turn 3, where you ain't being able to play all this stuff.
it's actually a really important point. So, like, this is a card where you don't necessarily play it on 3. You might play it a little bit later when you can guarantee like double spelling in a turn, right? I do still think it's going to be good enough in the sense of like, oh, I'll play it turn 3, I'll get my Zealot. It's my champion is gonna die most likely, and then I'll play my Zealot out of my hand as my 4 energy play, right? So it's replaced itself with a worse card, but you've gotten that for free, and yeah, if it lives, then your hand's gonna get a little clunky, so that is a real concern. But I think they kind of built it where like okay, if you draw this late as an aggressive deck, it's perfect, right? Because if you can keep it alive, you're getting essentially 2 cards out of it every turn. But then if you're playing it you know, in a deck where like, or in most cases where it's going to die because you can't have enough setup to keep it alive, you're still getting a card that replaces itself. So it's, I think the design is good, and I would love for us to have more cards that say at the end of turn do something. We really haven't seen that much in this game, and I think it fixes the issue with talent as an ability. And I went on my soapbox about this in one of the other podcasts. That talent just is, you get really punished because they're going to kill your card and then you never get your talent, right? So this fixes that issue by saying, yes, if it lives, you get that talent, but also if it doesn't live, you still get a card out of it. So I think this is a unique way to kind of address that issue, and I hope that they do it more. I think that would be good.
It looks like they're going in that direction though. Like you said, there's a Tau card like it. Now there's this card like it. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, I think they are going in that direction now. More, it's more chunkiness to this card. It's more than like just less, you know.
yeah. No, there's a lot going on here. It's packing a lot of power into a cheap card. And I do think that, yeah, you want to be careful a little bit of power creep, right? If we're just making 3 drops that are head and shoulders above like 6 or 7 drops, then we might want to slow down. But you know, I do think that it's also teaching a valuable lesson in card games that like cheap cards, although like inherently seem less powerful because they're more efficient, like you get more out of them. Like it's sort of teaching you the lesson of like you might want to have a better curve or like cheaper cards in your deck, especially for like a tempo strategy. With control decks, it doesn't matter as much because your answers are just stronger, so you don't have to curve out. But yeah, I think it's a good direction for them to go. And, you know, to kind of tie us back to the raid a little bit, you know, Harry, you and I were talking about like just kind of what the recommendation would be. You know, we've got the raid, we've got the different cards, we've got cosmetics. Um, I went in for the premium raid offer. It's contributing to the global raid tally, and also it allowed me to get Galaron right off the bat. Which basically what I would say is like, if you want to go out and play with Galaron today, great. That's the deal for you, right? You
Yeah.
know, I don't think you have to do that. Obviously, you could invest in some of these other cards and test those out. But I think, like Harry said earlier, like even though we might not get access to everything right up front, it allows for people to pay the money if they want to, but also for people who don't want to pay the money, you can still save up your medals, right, and
And
get
grind
stuff.
it out, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's overall a really good thing for the game. I think that once we all get used to this system, right? I'm still trying to figure out, like at this point I can't access these ones, but I think once they're unlocked, as long as I have enough of my own count here, my own medal count, because I guess I might have to hit like 2K or something to hit this one once it's unlocked. Um, you know,
So
you got to make progress, but I think it's better to have this where you can opt in or opt out of the progress that you want to make.
the question is, so the legendary is going to be 1,500 of the coins, yeah?
Yes.
That's how much that legendary is going to be. What's going to be the discount on the legendary? If it's if that was 300 and now it's 40, what's that percent?
Right.
Or if that one was 500 and now it's 100, that's like,
Right.
bro, that's like 80% in it.
Yeah, so it's like you're paying. So for Havoc Champion, right, you're essentially getting it for slightly more than 10%, right, of the total value, right. You're only
Slightly
having
more
to
than
pay,
10, yeah.
rather, sorry, to not confuse everyone who's trying to stick around here. You're only paying like 12% of what that card's value is, right,
Yes,
and
12%. So how much is 12% of 1,500? 1,500.
oh God, Harry, this is why I'm not a mathematician. So 10% would be 150, right? So wait, no, hold on. Is that right? Wait,
No.
15. No, it's not right. Okay, I'm gonna be really embarrassed on this podcast and put
200.
up
It's
my.
going to be two something in it.
So 1500 times 0.12. It'd be 180.
180.
if it's this roughly 12 to 15, 20% that they're going to give us, right? Because Avatar, this one it's 500, so that's 100 would be 20%. Um, so yeah, I mean, I hope that's how they're approaching it. I don't want to say, keep 200 coins in your back pocket. That's going to be enough. Like maybe with the legendary discounted one, once we get there, it's going to be closer to like we have to pay 500 up front or something like that.
500, yeah, that's not the end of the world.
It's
Like,
it's not like
yeah,
if you at the end of the day need to go over here and spend 1,000 gold on 500 medals to make sure you get there, you can opt into that. Or if you've got the legendary wild card, right, which I think I have two of right now. I spent one recently. Um, then what that means is like as long as this is unlocked for all of the players, which I'm sure it will be, putting the good vibes out there. Sorry, I was away for the weekend. I'm back to the grind. I promise everybody. Um, as long as you hit there, then that card will be added to the packs. I think it's after May 2nd or May 3rd. So like you don't have to spend any money getting additional metals. You can just use what you have or it gets converted into crystals. And then when it drops into packs, you can wild card craft it. So I am curious like how many overall medals we're gonna need to collect like as many of the cards available in the raid as possible. Like the epics are 750, the rares are 300, and you can get I think it's 150 medals from like the daily event. So what 150 times 9, right? So that's going to be
um, I'm gonna
over a
say
thousand.
that if I think if you played um all your daily challenges and you won like however many games a day and you bought the pass, I reckon you would have had enough to buy everything. I reckon like even all the cards in
Yeah,
the shop, I reckon that's how they must have set it up that way. Do you know what I'm saying? So if you've done everything perfect, you'd be able to buy everything. So if you missed a few days, if you've like not bought the pass, you're gonna pick and choose what you take from it,
yeah,
and that's up to you. Do you know what I'm saying?
yeah. No,
Like,
that's that. I think that's what it should be. Even if it shakes out a little bit different, I think, to Harry's point here, I think what we're probably getting is like you invest $20 or 20 of your currency roughly. And if you're playing consistently and you're hitting all the steps that you should be, my opinion as well would be like you get most of the new cards. And that's a big discount from what we came from, which was
yeah,
50
mate,
bucks to
leaps
get
and
all the new
bounds.
ones. Yeah,
Yeah, like this is way better because if you're a free to play player, you play for free every day, you do your stuff, and you might be
exactly.
able to get one of the legendaries. If
Yeah,
if you pay for the pass, you can get both of the legendaries, but you're gonna play every day anyway because it's like, do you know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah. And the way that I've approached this previously is like I basically switch all of my daily missions to the faction that's coming out. So it was orcs last time, right? And so I just rack up a bunch of packs, wait, and then I would have to crack them, see what I open, pour a bunch of stuff into the forge, get an additional legendary wild card to make sure I get the warlord. Because for me, I want to play with the warlord more than anything else. Like the warlord to me is the most important. Um,
Yeah.
but now it's different, and now like you get to put in as much as you want, but at the end of the day, you're like we're all gonna get quote like free stuff essentially for playing the game, and that's great. That's what we need more of. My only other gripe is I wish our weekly chests were a little better, a little bit more juiced. Um, but I know that they got to make their money and they got to sort of have people invest to some degree. But yeah, I
So
mean,
what
I
what
think
do you
it's
think of
good.
this as well, Tim? What do you think of this? Yeah, I just thought about this. Yeah, like like everyone's putting their coins in and everyone's trying to like get us to the legendary. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why didn't they have a leaderboard to show who put the most coins in,
Oh.
so we know to thank for playing so much? Because it's definitely not me.
All right, yeah, everyone come for Harry if we don't get the legendary. It's Harry's fault and it's my fault for being gone the last 3 days. So, we are the best representatives for this. Um, no, seriously, to your point, I actually would love that. I feel like that's a cool, like if they can, I imagine they can collect that data or are collecting that. That would be a really nice thing to shout, like the top 5 or top 10
Yeah,
players out. I
yeah.
think that would be really nice.
Like, cause let's have it right. To get us to the legendary, you've got to play a lot, and like the people that do that maybe should be having a leaderboard. And then, oh my! Imagine they brought out a card back, yeah, that was like
Ooh,
designed around the token. You know that skull.
yep.
You
That
know?
and the people who are the highest on the leaderboard would get it.
Yeah, got the card back.
Yeah. Well, now you're cooking, man. I think that would be because that really even more incentivizes like grind, like really hitting the grind, right? I
Yeah,
do think. I mean, I actually go for the top 50 leaderboard for the most part because like I do want the card back. I don't want to not have it,
yeah.
right? So um yeah, and
I've never done it. When I hit the top 50, there weren't no card back.
I know,
So,
right? Yeah. Oh, geez. No, that's a
no.
really cool idea, and I would advocate for that.
Yeah, because then it incentivizes people to grind. They might want a card back, and then like we know when you're in a game and you see someone with that card back, oh, they put the work in for this event. Like
Yeah,
maybe I don't know.
they were like a black or dark zealot raider, right? Like
Yeah,
like you get like maybe even a title with it, because the titles aren't that big of a deal in the game anyway. But like, great dark raider, Harry, he's got his card back and all that. I mean, I think if you
yeah,
can make that's like a thing that would make this feel a little bit even more special, and I think that would be really cool. And I think just to kind of wrap us up here with some closing thoughts, Harry, will you be playing Chaos this month?
100%. Well, look, I'm doing the daily challenges anyway, so I'm forced to play chaos.
Perfect, perfect.
To play the challenge. And I was playing Abaddon when Abaddon was awful because he was like one of the first legendaries I got. So I was
Wow.
just playing Abaddon, even like when he couldn't put it on himself. He get like
Yeah, he was
I'm gonna
actually bad, sort of.
yeah
Well, he
he was
wasn't bad,
yeah.
but he was like not nearly what he is now. Yeah.
Oh mate, he's come so far. Like the other hero was better, innit? The one that flies and does the damage.
Oh, Harkin. Yeah.
Harken was the better one. But yeah. So, but I do like chaos, man. Like you can look at this aesthetics, and how can you not like chaos? Like just
So
looking at
true.
these two cards on the screen. Like, so I'll be playing, yeah. But I feel like I'm gonna close my eyes and wake up, and there's gonna be another. There's gonna be another drop. Like it's coming so quick.
Yeah, I think this was a big surprise for a lot of us. I was not expecting. Sure, I was expecting a reinforcement drop to be announced at some point, but like, yeah, not as soon, and not certainly not with the raid when they kept teasing like something's coming and it's gonna be new. So we were pretty sure there was gonna be some sort of special event, but yeah, I mean, hats off to EG for like not having I don't think they have a huge team over there on this game, and like the content is monthly, but it's not just like one thing a month. It's a whole reinforcement, you know. So
Yeah. No, Boris. Yeah, I like what they've done here. I do.
yeah, we're definitely starting to, I think, hit the sweet spot for the game, and I think it doesn't hurt that Chaos is the most popular faction by EG's numbers. I'm pretty sure, like they have the highest play rate out of all the factions. So
Oh, for
like
real.
having a reinforcement for them obviously is going to be really really nice. But this whole raid thing I think is just going to get better and better for the community. Now that we're kind of wrapping our heads around, okay, there's a new currency, there are these different levels. At first, like the campaigns and forges are like, what the heck does this mean? But now that we're getting to see it and play with it, I think This is where things should go. I think this is a brilliant idea, and I really hope that we
Keep the
continue it.
raids, yeah.
Yes,
Keep the raids.
keep the raids.
Yeah, keep the
Maybe
raids.
maybe tone down the language about like these cards will disappear forever if you don't like. I don't love that. I gotta be real with that.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think the concept makes a ton of sense, and I think the overall benefit that we're getting is more beneficial for like most of the player base. So yeah, I'm excited. You know, it's funny. To out myself a little bit, I have played so little Chaos like over the course of Warforge. It's like a faction aside from Necrons that I've been not super interested in playing, but they've got me now. Like Galaron is super fun to play. I just want to get my
Serious,
hands on the new champion and like actually sit down and like play some Abaddon, use some of my wild cards that have just been sitting there. Um, so I mean, I think that's the goal, right? If these reinforcement drops like get you into a faction maybe you've never even played before, I think kudos to them. So
yeah. Yeah,
I'm
no, that's wicked. That is that, yeah.
so I guess next time we we meet, if it's in a couple weeks, we'll see. I know I feel like I tend to have a crazy schedule these days with the school year, but we'll see. Maybe we'll be talking about a Necron reinforcement or an Ultramarine reinforcement. Those are the
Oh,
last, or Eldar, right? Those are the last three that they will be putting out, and there should be. Well, I think my wish list to close things out would be I really would love to see the alliance system next month. Like if we could have that where we have these quests that we do throughout our whole alliance, right? So let's say there's like 25 people in an alliance, we all can work and earn rewards together. Um, I think that's going to be huge for this game. And we know it's
yeah.
coming. It just hasn't dropped yet. I think they put a lot of resources into testing out the raid mechanic, um, and I think that's wonderful. And I'm hoping that alliances will come and then we'll get reinforcements. And I believe the next expansion. I mean, I have to think it's going to be Imperial Guard related. We had some
Oh,
artwork that hinted that, but I think other people have said, oh, maybe it's Cadia specifically within the Imperial Guard. So there's a lot to look forward to. So you're gonna,
Imperial Guard.
yeah. I mean, we don't. It's not guaranteed. I think there have been in the artwork that we originally got for the roadmap. There's like a hint to Imperial Guard. There's a hint to potentially Grey Knights. It's kind of unclear. It could be them. Um, so we'll see. But I think what I kind of want to leave all of our lovely viewers with today is like there's going to be much more for us to talk about and get into. I think there's a lot to be excited about. So you'll definitely be seeing at least a podcast a month from Harry and I. If I can get my life together, hopefully more than that. But for
Yeah.
now, we'll be checking in each month to kind of like talk about what's going on and give our 2 cents. And thank you all for having tuned in before. But I'll let Harry close us out with some thoughts real quick. But yeah, I'm just excited to try some of these new things out.
So am I. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what the future brings for the game as well. Like I am. Like I'm like, oh, that's it. They've come a long way, man. They have. They've come like leaps and bounds from what it was. So it's like, and it seems to be getting better.
Yeah,
So, and we've got the Space Marines reinforcements drops coming soon, and you know what hero is gonna be in it. Like,
yeah. Where's Gilliman? Where is he, man?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
let's.
Like, and he's gonna have to be serious. Like, they're gonna drop him with some serious power, I reckon.
Oh, I'm gonna have to hold myself back for the if there's a raid for the Ultramarines. I'm
No, there
gonna.
will be. I reckon there will be. I reckon this is what we see from the future now. Every time they drop the raids. I'd be very interested to see how many people actually invested in the raid, the £20 raid, because if the numbers were all right, then be it would make sense for them to do it every time.
Yeah, Yeah. I mean, I think they should keep going. I am interested to see how it all pans out, you know. But yeah, I think there is just a lot to look forward to. I can't wait to look up at this game one day and see, you know, all the different factions and the different, you know, combinations, and, you know, just having so much, you know, as things just expand. You know, it's not so narrow. Now we can play as many warlords as we can, and they all have different unique play styles. I just think that there's a lot of potential here, and we're starting to see, especially for players like Harry and I who have been around since alpha with this game. You know,
Yeah,
we're starting to see where this can all really end up, and I'm beyond excited for it. So,
yeah, yeah. And
well,
the community's wicked as well, isn't it? The community's good.
it really is.
You
It's a
know.
really good community. I mean, we've got some
Yeah.
awesome content, but like I chat with people all the time on the community Discord, and you know, there's just yeah, it's we're in a good place, and I really just hope that things continue to get better for us. So, you know, I always thank Harry for laying out some time for me and just letting us, you
No, I
know,
appreciate it, man.
chat.
You laying out time for me as well, man.
Of
We have a lot of fun on
course.
the chats. Yeah.
No, it's such a pleasure now that I've been, you know, doing getting to do more of the kind of like chatting about the game and stuff like that. But it's always good to connect with Harry and see what he's interested in and up to. And yeah, and thank you all for sticking with us and for checking out the first episode. If you haven't, that is on the channel, and I'm hoping to have this up to you guys as soon as I can this week. Um, but as always, we will just catch you in the next one. Thanks so
Yeah.
much.
Thanks for watching.